Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this postmortem of my Blitz game number 904. I had the white pieces and started off with e4, and my opponent went e5. And we get a very classical opening here, the Ruy Lopez, knight f3, attacking the pawn, knight c6 defending, bishop b5, and he kicks it with a6. So this is all the main line Ruy Lopez. I drop back. He plays knight to f6, and I castle. And now if he takes, that's the open Ruy Lopez. Bishop e7 is the mainline closed Ruy Lopez. I often play with this b5 move to be followed by a bishop to c4. That's this idea, b5 and bishop to c4, or bishop c5 rather, the neo-Archangelsk variation. But there's nothing wrong with the old main line here. And at this point, he kicks the bishop first, knocks it back. It's this point where black plays d6. If he wants to play the Marshall Gambit or the Marshall attack, he can castle here and look for a quick d5, sacking a pawn in the middle to get a quick attack. It's interesting. But d6, still staying in the main line closed Ruy Lopez. c3, castles now, and h3. After black castles in the main line, then that's when you play h3. Little trick to remember. And then knight a5, coming after the bishop, is the main move. This is the Chigorin variation. There's also knight b8 to here, the Breyer variation, or bishop b7. I think that's the Arkhangelsk, or rook e8, the Zaitsev. Anyway, these variations I'm all familiar with, but I haven't really seen h6, and I kind of wonder if it's a bit of a mistake. But I was misunderstanding a little bit of what's going on in the center. But anyway, just to show you the Chigorin that I'm most familiar with. Knight a5 kicks the bishop. And notice that when this knight moves, it leaves off defense of the center. But I haven't played d4 yet, so the bishop gets kicked back. Black gets his move in c5, and now white plays the move d4. And now there is pressure on the center that black has to worry about, and queen to c7 is the most common move there, although knight to d7 has been played as well, and bishop b7 is kind of a tactical idea, I guess, counterattacking the center. So all those are fine, but the point is that after the knight moves away, you do have to worry about pressure on the center. So the way that black played this game is known as the Smyslov defense. Played h6 first, so it's kind of a slow move. I get in d4 first, and now if the knight goes after the bishop, I really can just take that pawn. So he decided to solve his problems by taking on d4. That kind of liberates his knight to move around. But there's no immediate danger of me taking this pawn in the center. It's defended at the moment. So black has time to continue developing here. And so the Smyslov defense normally continues with this rook move here, rook e8. Say I continue developing with knight d2, knight bd2, and then dropping the bishop back here. It's kind of like the Zaitsev variation, where he brings a bishop back to defend and gets the rook on open file here. And at this point, this knight is now free to move. So this is seems to be just fine for black. So that's the way black should have played his clicking the wrong buttons here. That's the way black should have played it. Let's go back to the game. So in the game, he just took. You can see this is in the opening book, although it's a very rare response, and white is in pretty good shape, I think, after this. I take back, and then d5 is the way it's been played in the past. He played knight a5 here. I think there's nothing wrong with this, but we're just out of the opening book at this point. So I drop my bishop back. He goes bishop to bishop to, I go bishop c2. Yeah, he goes c5 here. So we see kind of the similar setup with the Chigorin. I go knight c3. One difference is I get my knight on a more active square. It goes to c3 rather than to d2. So I think that's a slight improvement for white compared to the Chigorin. He goes bishop b7 here. Push on with d5 to keep that bishop shut out, and also keep this knight out of the game, although he immediately hops into c4. And I was thinking during the game, this is probably a good way to play as well. If I kick the knight immediately, I'm guessing he will hop into the e5 square. That seems to be the logical place. Then I trade it off, and I have a passed pawn here. And that's maybe gives me some play in the middle game, and it's certainly an asset for the end game. So this is good for white. But the way I played it is fine as well. I went knight to e2, preparing to bring this knight over to the king side, where it often goes in these positions. Let's see, he plays knight d7, and now I kick the knight. And now when he plays knight to e5, his knight is defended by another knight. I go ahead and exchange off one pair of knights. I'm just trying to reduce the number of defenders on the king side and kick. And then I kick with f4. I should say at this point there's lots of other moves. There's different ways that white can play this. There's just normal developing moves like bishop to b2. There's bringing the knight around. So f4 is not neither the best nor the worst idea here. It seems to be fine and keeps an edge for white. And it's a very direct way to play. He drops the knight back to d7. I go knight g3. And he goes knight b6. So knight b6 is an actual mistake. He should play something like, say bishop to f6 or perhaps g6 and keep the knight over here. But he needs to kind of shore up his king side. And when this knight wanders away, he's actually in pretty big danger. I didn't really take advantage of it entirely. So I'll show what happened. After knight g3, I went bishop b2, so that's a good move. That's keeping a big advantage. And then he went c4. And after this, there's actually a tactic here that I didn't see. Maybe you want to spot the idea here. Okay, yeah, this is not a simple tactic, but it's just an attacking idea. So if you're a very tactical, or if you're an attacking style player, you may have just played this kind of move instinctively. Bishop takes g7. So if the king takes, the knight hops in here with check. The king runs somewhere, and the queen comes in. And this is just a devastating attack. This rook is coming up and over very quickly, and there's no defense here. He's actually going to lose massive amounts of material here. I think there's already a threat just to take on that h6 pawn. I mean, there were other moves after bishop takes g7, but actually the best move is to the chess engine gave something like bishop f6, I think, to try and trade off the forces. So basically just giving up the pawn and giving up an exchange there to try and survive. So pretty interesting that Black's play, particularly this knight move, moving this knight over to the queen side, should have actually just directly resulted in a loss if I had been sharp. If I'd been in good form here, spotted these attacking ideas. Anyway, I'm still moving my pieces forward on the king side, but this is kind of slow motion. It really could have happened much more quickly. And right here, there's another tactic if you want to look for it. Okay, I'm going to give the answer away now here. It's similar to the last one. You can just directly go for the attack. You don't have to really do anything special here. You just let's see, I think it was lifting the rook here, but also bringing the queen out. I think either of these moves is winning, and just ignoring the attack on the bishop here. So yeah, he's just doesn't have enough defenders around his king here. So anyway, it's a little hard to spot these ideas in a blitz game, so I am just playing it safe and defending. But at this point, he could kind of equalize. He trades. I mean, leaving him with only a slight edge. C takes b3 is a mistake. But if he played bishop to c8, this is a kind of position where Black can continue to play on with only a slight disadvantage. Let's see. C takes b3 was a mistake, and then my reply was a mistake. So lots of little mistakes here. But the best reply is rook takes b3. Once again, getting that rook lift in there to just contribute to the attack is a big win here. I played pawn takes, which has some good ideas here. It keeps control of these squares, keeps this knight from coming forward into my camp here. But really what this knight needs to do is come back this way anyway, so I'm not really helping myself this way, and I've kind of blocked up my pieces. So rook takes would have been much better there. Okay, but I did pawn takes, and then he played rook to c8, trying to get a little counter pressure on my queen side here. Went queen g4. Once again, the rook lift is better. Rook to e3 is a suggestion, but queen g4, at least I'm getting my pieces over in the right direction. And he played queen f6, and this is really the final blunder. He still had a chance here to defend with the move g6. And it's a giving up a pawn here because I can immediately take, but that's the best black can do, and it's not so easy for me to crash through after that, at least according to the chess engine. But queen f6 immediately loses, and here, I'm prepared to go forward with the attack here. I've got this all figured out at this point. I push the pawn forward, he takes, I take, and no matter what happens here, I'm going to have a tremendous advantage with these big pawns in the center. Now he immediately played queen g6, walking into that fork, but even the best move here is losing pretty quickly, because if he plays queen g5, I can just trade and then fork this way and pick up the exchange, and I still have these monster pawns here in the center. So that'll be a quick win, but even quicker is this win when he plays queen g6 and I play the check here. So he resigned. Anyway, it was a fun game, lots of cute tactics towards the end, and the lesson for black here is really be careful when you start moving your pieces away from your king side. And the lesson for white there is I had more direct attacking ideas that just would have won the game immediately. I should have gone for them. Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you later. Bye.